subscribing and hitting that bell so you don't miss any of my new videos. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started right away. Today's case is that of Ted Kennedy and the Chappaquiddick incident, which took place on July 18th, 1969. That was the day when a life was lost, and it was that of a young woman, Mary Jo Kopechny, who was only 28 years old. So, let me go ahead and get started with some background on Ted Kennedy. So, in case you didn't already know, which you surely did, he was a member of the infamous Kennedy family. He was the youngest of 9 siblings born to his parents, and he was born in the year, let me just check, 1932. It was February 22nd, 1932. He was born in Boston. And just so you know, he passed away in 2009 from brain cancer. So, during his life, as a child, he had to deal with a lot of traumas. I'm sure you've heard of the curse of the Kennedys. So there was the failed lobotomy of his sister Rosemary. She had some seizure disorder and I think mood swings, and they tried to get her a lobotomy, which was something that they did at that time, I guess. Anyway, it wasn't successful and it left her kind of incapacitated. And then there was his brother Joseph, who died in service during World War II. And his sister Catherine, I think was her name, Kathleen, died in a plane crash. Okay, so there were those horrible things already going on when he was a kid. And anyway, just to make it clear, his brother was JFK, John F. Kennedy. That was one of his older brothers. And another brother of his was Robert F. Kennedy, both of whom were assassinated later on down the line here. But I'm getting ahead of myself, so. When Ted was in high school, he had kind of mediocre grades, you know. He went to a private school, but he was definitely not the star pupil. He graduated high school number 36 out of 56. Now, well, that's not bad. You know, some people would be happy with that. But that certainly is not Kennedy quality schoolwork, right? It was said that he was a fabulous athlete and really loved sports a lot. And somehow, he got into Harvard. And he didn't do too well at Harvard, really, but, you know, he was making it through somehow until if you want to reapply and return to Harvard at some point. So he did that. He came back to Harvard, and ultimately he graduated in 1959 at age 24. No, sorry, it was 1956, so he was 24. Okay, and then he decided he would go to law school. But Harvard wasn't taking him, even though he was a Kennedy, because he had cheated and he had been expelled and his grades weren't that wonderful, so no. But he did manage to get into the University of Virginia Law School, which is also very prestigious. But they weren't so quick to take him. They did kind of discuss it amongst themselves, knowing his past, his academic past, but they ultimately took him and he became a lawyer and graduated from there in 1959. Okay. So, after Ted finished law school, shortly thereafter, his brother John F. Kennedy, who had been a senator, he was elected to the presidency, as we all know, and they saved the Senate seat for Ted, even though he was too young, actually, at that time to be a senator. They put in some kind of guy to hold the spot for him, and when he reached the right age, he became a senator. It was 1962. Then in 63, JFK was shot. We all know that well-known story. His brother Robert Kennedy started a campaign and planned to run for president, but he was also assassinated, unfortunately. And then it was decided that Ted would run for president for the 1972 election. Meanwhile, I should mention that he did get married along the way in 1958. He married Joan Bennett. Okay. And one summer in 1969, there was a regatta, which is like a boat race, on Martha's Vineyard, which was an event that he attended every year for the past 30 years, and he asked his, friends, associates, family, whatever, to rent a little cottage where they would have a party after the regatta, and at that party would be a group of his male associates. And a bunch of women, I think maybe 5 women, I'm not sure, who had worked on the campaign for Robert Kennedy. So after the regatta was over, he and everybody else headed over to this party. His driver, his limo driver, stocked the house with tons of alcohol, and they all started having a nice time. And then houses that had their lights on where he could have knocked and asked to call the police. He even passed a firehouse where he could have asked them to come rescue her. Now remember, she's in a car. She could still be alive, right? She's trapped in a car underwater. But he's wasting a lot of time, and why is he doing this? Okay, what is he thinking? Is he thinking, I don't want anyone to know about this at all, so I just want to take care of it quietly? Which is a not smart way to think about this kind of thing. Because, I'm just saying, if he would have gotten help immediately, they probably would have saved her. And then, even if they found out he had been drinking, it would have still come off a lot better than it did. But anyway, what can you say? So he gets all the way back to the party, and he tells his two closest associates, I believe one was his cousin and the other his friend, I'm not 100% sure, but anyway, he tells them what happened, and they get in the car and they drive back to the scene. He sits there on the side while for 40 minutes these two guys dive in and out of the water trying to get her out, and they can't do it. They just can't do it. They don't know if she's alive or not either, but they cannot get her out. And Kennedy says from all this, one of the guys totally butchered his arm. It was all bloody and beaten up and from all those attempts, but later on it is noted that there is nothing wrong with this guy's arm at all, so we don't know what happened. Who's telling the truth? So then Kennedy says, I'm gonna I'm gonna contact the police, don't worry about it. I don't want you guys to be involved or be in trouble, but I am gonna take care of this, okay? I am gonna take care of this. I'm gonna get help now. Have a good night. And the ferry is already closed for the night, so I am gonna swim across the water back to my hotel, and everything is going to be taken care of. Well, now mind you, the swim is not that far, so I don't know if he really did it or not, but it was 500 feet, which doesn't sound that bad. So supposedly he swims back to his hotel room and goes to bed. That's it. He didn't tell anybody. He went to bed. The next morning, somebody sees the car in the water and they alert the police, who pull it up and see that there is a dead woman in this car. So Ted gets up, he gets dressed, he looks fine, and people note that he didn't seem at all strange that morning. Just seemed normal. But when someone asks, did you hear there was no official cause of death, but it was felt that either she drowned or she suffocated in an air pocket that she had squeezed herself into in the car, because they said that she wasn't filled up with as much water as a person would be if they had drowned, so it's one or the other. If there was an air pocket, it means that she really lived for quite a bit of time until that air pocket ran out of air. After his admission of guilt in leaving the scene of an accident, he was given a 2-month jail term, which was to be suspended, meaning he didn't have to do it, and they took away his driver's license for 1 year. The end. Okay, that was it. And that same night he went on TV, told the people that he's very sorry for this, what has happened, and he has not done anything immoral, and just explained like basically the same thing that he already said, that it was an accident, and the reason for his weird behavior afterwards, like why didn't he get help immediately and why didn't he report it, was because he had a concussion and he was in shock. So that is his excuse for the whole thing. And I guess the people of his state, for the most part, kind of accepted that because they really liked him and they really respected him. So, although he did not run for the 1972 presidency, he did not resign from his Senate position, and he continued to serve it until the day that he died. So he served that seat for about 47 years, which is one of the longest terms ever for a senator. And he was known to have done a lot of great things during that time. No one disputes that. So he was a good senator, okay? relationship he had with Mary Jo beforehand.